Hello and welcome to Rite Designs. I am, of course, your host, Stephen D. Russell. I am here as the head of Rite Publishing, and today I'm talking about our icon deck. This is for the Lords of Gossamer and Shadow game. This is, the backs of our cards. This really came about because, and here's one of the pictures to get you an idea of what I'm talking about here. It came off really nice. These are cards that you haven't seen yet because they weren't part of the initial proof set that I did. This is the final proof. Uh, Before I went to AmberCon this year, I took a proofing set up there. So these are cards nobody's really seen yet. This is one of my favorites because it's a guy holding a card, and I'm holding him. So yeah, that one I like a lot. And then here we go. We have some more, and our Eldorado set of cards, which is a really interesting set of ideals. I just couldn't say enough about the art, and I'll be talking a lot about that today. But I wanted to give you a quick idea of what I'm talking about. So again, that's for the Lords of Gossamer and Shadow, our diceless game. Oh, maybe I'll go to the other side. There's a diceless logo. Hard to get a good read on that. Let's see. Nope. All right, anyway. So that's me goofing off. So the icon deck came about because I had a lot of requests from the original game, Amber, the dice role-playing game. It had tarot cards where people communicated. It can transport other players and other characters to them through representatives of them through tarot cards, being able to communicate over vast planar distances using those. So in Lords of Gossamer and Shadow, because we're using a different setting, we have icons. Now they could be cards, they could be an application on your iPad, they could just be a photo, they could be a statue, they could be just about anything that is representative of the character that you can contact. So it's really a very different way to do that, and I'm real pleased with being given the chance through our Kickstarter money to be able to do 52 player character, not NPCs, but actual player character cards. These are cards that I won't be statting out. I won't be telling you who they are and what they do. That's entirely for the players to decide who these characters are. A number of the pieces of artwork actually came from our backers to tell us, what these characters would be. A good number came from me and my love of different styles of comic book covers from everything from fantasy noir to modern superhero comics to Tarzan. Very, very different variations of different styles of artwork that you could play with, and you'll find influences in the card sets. When I was basically left with the idea of doing art direction, we had 52 cards. About half of them were going to be done by fans, and the other half were going to be left to me to write. So I only missed one person out of the whole deal. We'll be getting them in the second set. And yes, I am going to be doing another set because I still have the NPCs to do. These will be cards that do have stats, so that'll be something to add to the game. We've already seen, over 100 copies of these cards sell through because we did it at cost to our Kickstarter backers. So we've sold over 100 copies of those already, and it's barely been out a week. I released it on July the 3rd. So I'm really, really pleased that everybody's, giving me a lot of positive feedback. I had a couple questions. I had two people ask about what they thought, that they were worried that the name of the artist was going to be too prominent. But if you actually look at the card, you get down to its size, and then you zoom in to, if I can get it to focus on it. It may not focus, but anyway, you can see how small the actual writing is. It's pretty small. I mean, it's less than 1/8 of an inch from the edge, so it doesn't dominate the character image. When you're zoomed in on your PC or laptop or your Kindle, it can be a bit more prominent. But I first and foremost wanted to give artists credit because this has nothing to do with the author. This has everything to do with the talent of the artist. Um, and I'd like to go through here and recognize and talk a little bit about each of the artists here. Um, I'm probably not. I'm just going to grab some of them at random and talk a little bit about them. Uh, so bear with me. Jack Holiday from Jack Holiday Illustrations. It's a nice little card from him. The great thing about Jack is he was kind of an odd discovery for me. I actually found him through stock art. Lewis Porter Jr. I always pay attention to who his stock artists are because Lewis has a great eye for artists. He's a real big fan of sequential art, comic books specifically, and he likes the action poses and the dynamics of that style. And we both have similar tastes, so I pay attention to a lot of what he does. And when I found Jack Holiday's stock art pack, I looked at it, and then I went and looked at Jack's DeviantArt page, and I was really impressed by him, and I felt that this was a guy who could really do some stuff for us. So he was one of the very few artists that I actually sought out that wasn't part of my initial pitch. He was somebody that I found and said, wow, I'd really like him to come along and do that, and he wasn't somebody who approached me. And we'll get to one of the big things I do is we have our Pathways free easing, which I always try to do a new cover artist each and every month that we pay $50. I've paid $50 since issue 1. We're now up to issue 40. I'm going to keep paying $50 for it. It's the idea. Eventually I'm probably going to have to increase that just from standard inflation, but I'll look at that over time. Because I try to be fair. But right now, my idea was to try to show up and coming people that you could get a good quality cover if you knew how. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to do edge to edge bleed. We do a banner image and a character image on our cover, and we pay $50, and we get some really great pieces from some really raw but great talent. They aren't. Not everybody's Wayne Reynolds. Not everybody is Larry Elmore, but not everybody's Jason Rainville. He's gone up to and not everybody's Dallas Williams, and we'll talk about those two guys as we go on. But this is one of the big things that I wanted to talk about is Pathways gives us a really, really great way to introduce publishers and for me to find new artists that have an exceeding raw talent. I just found somebody who I'll be showing off probably in September, and I'll talk more about that artist then. But I have a feeling that this artist is going to, the raw talent reminds me a lot of Jason Rainville. It's early work, and I've talked to him about that. He laughs at me when I say it, but it's one of the things that you try to keep an eye out for. Is who does this artist's style remind you of? I'm just said I'm going through these at random, so we're going to be all over the place. This is a Eldorado card. Again, these are all about a particular group of, these were backer cards. This was an idea that they had Western style, plane hopping. They go to a specific world. It used to be called Texarami, but we had to change that for IP reasons to Eldorado. For those Amber folks out there who know what the Kindred's Texarami campaign was, that's been changed to Eldorado, and that's what these are. So this is Gordon Napier, and Gordon probably draws women better than anybody I know, and I'll try to pull up a woman card here, a woman figure here for you in just a second from Gordon. But Gordon was somebody who came along from Pathways. I really looked at how he drew women, and I was really impressed. It was really a lot of what I was looking for. It got rid of all the standard fantasy cliches that bug the heck out of me when I'm talking about artwork, and I really, really enjoyed his work. He's incredibly dedicated. He's always busy, yet he always finds time to do work for us. he's just he's a workhorse. He's one of those people. I think between him and one other artist, which we'll do that next. We'll do Ian next as I pull these up. But him and Ian Greenlee they did the most number of cards out of the 52 that I did. And Gordon is really, really, a lot of his stuff is really crisp and clean and just pretty. And I really like the way he does stuff. His real strength is female characters. And if you're looking to draw if you need a strong female character, he's probably the first artist I always think of when I'm doing something like that. So this other artist I was talking about that did as many cards as Gordon did is an artist named Ian Greenlee. Now, Ian, real gift is in costumes and design and elaborate patterns within the cards. That's his greatest strength. And I don't want to denote any of his other abilities, but just the detail that he can put in these images is amazing. It's just, I'm always impressed by him. I'm never let down by Ian. Again, he's a major workhorse. He turns things around quickly. I mean, that's the reason that he did more cards than anybody else, along with Gordon, was that, you gave them the description and they turned around a card pretty quickly. And then, we'd assign another one to them every time they did. Now, that doesn't denote other people who came on later in the project, like Jack Holliday didn't come along till later. But that was kind of what I was trying to do, was get some real interesting cards going on from them. But again, Ian Greenlee was another guy that I found through Pathways. Just sent me a submission query asking if he could do a cover of Pathways. We did the cover of Pathways. I thought he did just an amazing job, and he actually drew the very first icon card, piece of artwork that I used in its promotion. Was drawn by Ian, and it was the first description I gave, because he was the first guy I thought of, because I wanted this elaborate set of tattoos, and Ian just blew me away when he created it. I still think it's his best piece. So next up, we have another guy that I found through Pathways. Doing this, doing that. I'm trying to find it. There we go. Okay, but this card is created by Joshua Callaway, and Joshua was another guy I found through Pathways, and he has a real raw talent. It's going to develop over time, and he's going to be this amazing painter. As he's able to add more detail into his brush strokes and get more smooth lines, and if he can blend that mixture of line art and painting together and create some really phenomenal pieces, he's going to have a very unique style, and he's just somebody that I'm looking to develop over time. He's not always perfect. Some of these artists aren't always perfect, and this is something you need to learn as a publisher for people out there. Each artist has his own strength and his own weaknesses, and if you give an artist a piece that's not to his strengths, then you may not be happy with the ultimate thing. But if you know what the artist's strength is and you know what his weaknesses are, then you can say, well, we're doing this piece. Who's the best guy to draw this? If we're doing this elaborate set of tattoos, you want Ian Greenlee. If you're doing a powerful, elegant woman in traditional style, then in a classical style, then I'd go with Gordon Napier. If you are looking for somebody who you want some dynamic action and some dark overtones, then I'd go with Jack Holliday. I mean, these are just talented people, and you look at for their strengths and you pitch to them. And that was one of the nice things about this series that we were really able to do. Tommy Arnold, he's in the same category as Joshua Holliday. Excellent, talented painter. He's continuing to develop. He creates some really beautiful paintings, again, with his style. You sometimes have to work with him just to get a little more detail into his work, but that's the great thing about working with people like Tommy and Joshua. When you give them critical feedback, they take it and they own it. And that's what's great about working with folks like that. And that's why when I do Pathways, I get somebody, because that's where we met Tommy again. Uh, Came from a Pathways cover. It gives you that idea of, are you going to work with these people again off of one cover image? Because it's a make it or break it for a lot of these folks, and when they own it, that I'm going to work with them again. Um, they're really, when you give somebody critical feedback about, hey, I want this changed, and I'm a stickler. When I can't find something to criticize, I go around and ask all my artist friends, what's wrong with this picture? How can we make this picture better? Because I want to give my artists feedback to make them better, not just to make my art better, but to make them better as artists. I don't get to use Jason Rainville as much anymore because he's off working for, Paizo and Watsy, and, doing his own personal projects now. Dallas Williams, who's another guy who moved on. He's just, again, another raw talent that's done amazingly well. Um, Another one that came along was, trying to think, what's a good example of somebody who, oh, this is somebody who did not do an icon deck, but did do a Pathways cover. Julia Metzinger did probably one of the best Pathways covers we've ever had. And by the time I turned around to hire her to do something else, she'd already been picked up as a concept artist for another company. So she's just an amazing talent. I hope one day, you hate to say that, I hope one day she gets to come back and do freelance work. What I mean by that is, I hope she's able to, right now she's under an exclusivity contract. So I hope one day that she gets out from under that and we'll be able to do some freelance work, because I really thought she was an amazing talent. Um, Juan Diego de Andres, JD as I like to call him, uh, just does, again, this is probably one of my favorite cards. Um, and another thing, and I'll talk about this because it brings up two subjects. Again, Juan is somebody that I found through Pathways, again, but he also eventually did. He's done cover artwork for us for the Secrets of Adventuring. He's done Pathways. He's doing a lot of the interior line artwork now for Faces of the Tarnished Sook. He did a number of cards for us for the Icon deck. And what was great about working with Juan, JD, is that he's so much fun to engage as an artist. I would give him a couple ideas for different cards, and he would pick one out and say, "Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting one. I want to do that one." And that's a great way to work with somebody, because they know their strengths better than you do. Um, Sometimes I'll pitch stuff to people like that. I have a couple ideas. I'm trying to figure out which one's going to work best for you. And that's the kind of thing that they become interested in. What's also interesting about this card right here is this is part of the influence comes from the feedback from uh, working with Lewis Porter Jr. And that was the simple fact that he gave me a good idea. I'm very colorblind. I grew up in a very suburban, integrated neighborhood as a kid, so I don't tend to see racial uh, differences. I don't tend to see cultural differences very well. I don't even tend to see gender differences very, very well. I just don't, I don't care. Are you talented? Do you do your work? Blah, let's move on. You know, I care more about whether you're a good, a talented person and not an asshole than I do worry about whatever else you might be. The first thing is your talent, and second is, are you an asshole? If you have great talent and you're not an asshole, then I want to work with you regardless of anything else. And I want to get to know you as a friend too, because that means if you care about stuff that I care about, like art and what I'm doing. But anyway, besides getting off on that tangent, sorry. Um, but I am colorblind by that, and I realize that, or culturally blind in this fact. I will put myself, because I know me, and you write what you know. And a lot of times you could end up with all white men in your game or all white women in your game. And one of the things I wanted to make sure, because I knew this about myself, and after discussions with many people, I wanted to make sure we had various different things. And half the deck is women, half the deck is men. We have one card that is androgynous, or could be anything. It's a shapeshifter. So hey, what can I tell you? We are playing a lot with, but one of the things that Lewis pointed out to me was, make a cool character first, and then worry about the color. Then worry about the culture, then worry about the sex. And Andy Collins a lot of times talks about just roll randomly for the sex. That way, it's never your decision about whether it was a male or female character. It was just, it was cool. It was a cool character idea, and then you chose the sex randomly. And I thought that was a great way to come across with that for sex, and a great way to come across with what we were doing for the game. But that was one of the things with this one, is to avoid, and because a lot of times I realized if I was doing a, an African American style character, I would put African overtones into it, and that didn't make sense when I was doing Americans with European overtones for characters. I really just kind of threw that out the window with that. Moving on, before I go any more crazy. Dennis Darmody. This one's a little darker, so it may not come off as well, but that came off pretty well. So, gotta love my new high def webcam, looking really good. So let's get that out in front of there, see if we can get a better picture. Yep, he's about ready to destroy some zombies. Okay, so Dennis Darmody, who is another guy we found through Pathways, is one of the early people that I brought on to work on the Icon deck cards. He did a number of them. I think I brought him about halfway through the project. I started asking people individually, and these were, again, people who came along later after we'd already started the Icon deck cards. He's currently doing all of the book that Matt Forbeck written, called one of our Gossamer Worlds, Nexopolis. It's going to be a 40-plus page book. He's done a number of just gorgeous pieces. I mean, just the interior art on this is just amazing. Yes, I'm going to sing it to you. But it's really beautiful. I'm really pleased with it. I couldn't be happier with the artwork on it. He's still got, I think, one piece left to turn over, and then he's done. And that's due here this week, and it looks like everything's going to be wrapping up on time. We gave him a very short deadline to get this done in, so it's been great to have him working on this. Let's talk a little bit about, talked about Joshua, talked about all them. Somebody we haven't talked about yet. As you can see, I get a lot of people from Pathways. So if you're an artist out there, check out, our contact us page, and it'll tell you, we pay $50 through PayPal. And we do it every month. So sending me a submission that says Pathways cover inquiry in the subject line, and if you don't, I automatically delete it, because if you can't follow directions on the submission, you aren't going to follow directions when I send you art directions. So that's I've turned down some really great artists. I've gone back and looked at them, because I was, man, am I turning down great people? And they're like, yeah, I am, but going back to the same thing, And when I contact these people, it's weird. I contact some of these people to say, hey, I would have used you, but you didn't follow directions, and they go off on me, and that just proves right there that I was right to begin with. I didn't want to work with this person because they're too sensitive and they're too full of themselves, and yes, you're working for peanuts for me. Yes, but you're still working and getting paid. I'm not asking you to do something for free. And that's something I'll never ever do. Is I'm not big on asking people to do stuff for free, because I think everybody should get paid. Joe Shawcross, another early guy that we were using. You'll see a lot of his work over at Dreams Card Press for a lot of his Sonic stuff. Juan does some stuff over Juan Diego. JD does some stuff over there too. It's really interesting working with Joe. He has a very unique style. He's continuing just to improve and improve and improve. He was a Pathways guy who first came along, and I almost didn't hire him because I was looking through his stuff, and I was like, he's just on the cusp yet, and he didn't have as strong a portfolio as he could have had. But now, man, he's just some of the stuff he's doing is just outrageously good. And again, he's a guy you look for in his style. You look at his art, look through his artwork, and this is a secret to how I do stuff. And then this is probably because of my busy exposure to artwork is a lot comic books. I'm very much like Lewis. I tend to look at artists and I say, which comic book artist does this guy remind me of, and what did he do great, and what were some of the great images that he did, and what are some characters that he drew really well. And I'll think about stuff like that and approach it from that way, because one, comic books is a commercial art form, and they have to do covers all the time. They do covers every month, and it's usually by a continuing artist. Sometimes there's guest cover artists and stuff like that. But you can find some really great uh, inspiration that way too. I'm real big on that. Um, so Joe has just been somebody who's really, really come along and really impressed me, and just been an amazing uh, guy to work with. He's done some black and white sketches work for us on our uh, the Demolished Ones line, and that's been like, here's a great piece by Joe Shawcross that probably one of his, just really, really came off. Really pleased by the detail that he was able to put into it, and really fit his style of artwork. Sometimes you can just find something that's really amazing like that, and you can really push it. Um, Keith Seymour, this guy I'd like to use more of. I don't get to use him as often as I would like. You can find this one on our website. It's one of the ones that I used to kind of show the different cultures that we were talking about too. Um, I just really, really enjoy this piece. Um, Keith, again, is another guy from Pathways. Good, solid guy to work with. And what I really appreciate about Keith is when he can't do something, he will tell you up front and ahead of time. I hired Keith to do a piece, and he had a contractor uh, extend his contract, and it paid a lot more than mine did, and I had no problem with Keith. And he contacted me as soon as he realized he wasn't going to be able uh, to complete my work because of the amount of work that was necessary from his current customer. And again, that's not his fault. He wasn't the one who made the error. It was the company that hired him, realizing that they were going to need more work than what he was originally hired for. And as soon as he let me know about it, and I was able to hire a different artist, and everything worked out kosher. And I hope when Keith, gets unbusy again, that we can hire him again, because he's on that cusp of what I like to say, an artist who's passing through. Their talent is so much out there that they really shouldn't be working for us. There's a few artists that I have that are like that, and we talk a lot about them here. Jacob Blackman. Jacob was not somebody that he did a Pathways cover for us. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't discover Jacob Blackman on through Pathways. Jacob Blackman was somebody I was exposed to by being friends with Owen Casey Stevens. Jacob, I hired to do a comic for our Pathways e-zine. I think his artwork is perfectly suited to a web comic. I think he's quick, he's talented, he's funny. I think that web comic is really going to go places, and I'm glad that it's part of Pathways. I'm hoping that when we get enough, that one day Jacob would be able to collect it into a book and sell that book, because I really think it will be a fun and interesting thing for him. Um, Jacob's just a tremendously talented guy. He just recently went full-time freelance. He's one of the fastest people in the industry, and the most reliable guy I've ever worked with. And he has a talent that, if you are describing something, he knows what you're talking about, because he's in the industry that much. He plays games all the time, and he's just a really fun and interesting guy to work with. And I really recommend, if you have something you need done quickly, or you're looking for somebody who's of that kind of style, take a look at his portfolio, Prodigy Duck Designs. And he sells t-shirts too for the Path Less Traveled comic. So, stop over at his Cafe Press and check that out too. That's shameless promotion there for Jacob. But like I said, I really like Jacob, and I'm glad we get to work with him. Jason Rainville. Oh, look. Yeah, see, I even got the cool people to come in and do cards. Look at that steampunk style there. Yes. That's what you want in life, is a steampunk card. Anyway, I can't say enough about Jason Rainville. He's one of the first artists I ever employed when I started I think he was in the he's in the, I think we first started using him in the second book, back in the Arcana Evolved days. He did the cover for Coliseum Morpheum. He did the cover for our first novel. He did the cover and all the interior art, 90% of the interior art for Lords of Gossamer and Shadow. Um, he's constantly my impromptu art director when I run into a wall and I need some feedback. Jason's there for me. So, um, and he's done work for, as we've said, Wizards of the Coast. He's done stuff for Limitations of the Flame Princess. He's done work for Paizo. He's just an amazing talent and a great and good guy to work with. And funny as hell too when we have conversations. He's a snarky guy when it comes to art. So, my favorite artist. I won't, I don't care who you are right now. Jason Rainville is my favorite, probably because, I've worked with him so long. I consider him a personal friend, and just an all around professional guy. And I always want to hire him as long as I can afford to. So, I can't say more about that than to touch on that one. What else do we have here? And working with him for so long is one of those interesting things. You develop relationships with artists and you're able to keep them around for quite some time, probably a lot longer than you should be able to, doing favorite friends. Okay, we're coming to the last artist that I want to talk about because we've talked about Jason Rainville. I'll talk about another artist who was passing through, and we are so glad that he did. We got 2 pieces out of him. And this is a guy called Dallas Williams. And if you ever get a chance to, if you can afford to, hire him. Very professional to work with, extremely talented, very, again, everybody that I name here is going to be somebody that I recommend simply because this is the second time I've worked with him on these pieces, at least. Dallas did a cover for the Pathways. That's how I met him. And his talent just grew phenomenally. He was one of those people that was just amazing. When Jason Rainville first saw him, he was like, "Who's that guy?" And I made the joke. I was like, I call him not Jason Rainville when Jason Rainville's working, for somebody else, the new Jason Rainville or something like that, I said. But Dallas was an amazing talent. I didn't get to hold on to him for very long. Like Julie Metzinger, he was just gone in the wind so quickly. So I was really pleased to get to work with him. Great guy. There's nobody I'm going to disparage if they worked in the Icon deck because, again, they worked with a second time or a third. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the person was hard to work with the first time if I didn't hire them again for Pathways. It can be one that the guy just wasn't available. That, 2, his prices went up to the point where Rite Publishing just couldn't afford him. You dealt with somebody whose talent didn't hold muster. They did a fine job, but there's some artists who are only good at drawing monsters. There are artists who are only good at drawing humanoids. There are artists who are awesome at drawing women. There are artists who are only good at drawing men and hate to draw women. There are artists who just disappear off the face of the earth. I've had 2 of them, who we tried to contact him a second time and never heard back from him. What do you do? I've had artists bail at the last minute, and, we'll never hire those people again. I've had artists who we will continue to work with because they do high quality, they deliver, and the experience is done well. And that's why, we do multiple pieces with them. There are people who are just that talented. There are artists that I'm just learning about and using more. Camille is a guy that we're using on. He did a Pathways cover, and he is doing the interior art for Faces of the Tarnished Sook along with JD DeAndres. And I really appreciate the amount of, he turns things over quickly, and they're all high quality, and it's really well done, and I'm really well pleased with it. There's a new artist that we got around to using for the new Pathways cover that just came out, but he had done, I'm going to butcher his last name, but I had originally found him through doing some stock art that he had done for Inkwell designs for their second monster package, and I was really impressed. And he came along and wanted to do a cover for Pathways. I immediately said yes. I'm going to say it, Mark Balaho, Hoa, Ha-O, Ha-O, Balaho, Balaho. All right, I'm Balaho. We're going to go with that until Mark sends me a message with audio that tells me how to say it correctly. Hopefully he doesn't watch this, but usually they do, and usually they get happy because they get shout outs or something like that. Um, it's neat. I find it interesting when people get excited just because I'm talking about them. But I'm talking about these people because they do good work, and I want them to get more good work. And I want you people, the fans, to know whose artwork you've got in your hands, because I want them to have credit and understand, the heart and soul that goes into these pieces and why they're so, to me, this isn't just a piece of cardboard. This is a culmination of a dream and idea that's been working along for the past year as we developed 52 cards with 52 pieces of original artwork. And, the culmination of the idea of having tarot cards for Amber Diceless. These are character images. And looking forward to doing, more of them in the future if they're popular enough. They've been pretty popular with us. So I'm going to say I'm well pleased at this point with the turnout for this. So, and wow, if you've waited all the way through this, I guess I should have said this at the beginning, but if you've gotten all the way through this and you've lasted, 40 minutes, the Icon deck has already been released to our backers at the Kickstarter. You can pre-order it through our website at ritepublishing.com. That's R-I-T-E publishing.com. And you can, of course, and you click on Diceless and then Icon deck, but you can also pick this up at Gencon, be it the Legendary Terrain booth. Is where we'll be stocking our stuff this year. They were kind enough, along with Little Red Goblin Games, is helping us out here by keeping it. They're sharing a booth with them, and they're going to be holding some of our stuff there. Next year, Rite Publishing will have its own full booth. We had a bit of a problem with our print distribution partner choosing this year not to get a booth, and we didn't find out till it was too late. So that was our scramble to recover that. But fortunately, I have friends in the industry who are kind enough to give me a space to put some of our stuff, and I'm very pleased that they were willing to do that. We had multiple people who were willing to help us out. So I'm hoping to have the Icon deck there. I'm hoping to have Nexopolis there. There's one other book I'd like to have there as well, besides the Lords of Gossamer Shadow core book. Pardon me. But we'll see how layout goes at this time. I'm really pleased to say that it's gone really, really well. I was really, really pleased with the quality of the cards. It's on the quality that Drive-Thru RPGs print on demand service for cards is on the same level as any card out there, be it Magic the Gathering, be it the Pathfinder card game, be it the Sentinels of the Multiverse, my favorite game that I'm playing a lot of right now. The quality of the cards is really on that level, and I've been exceedingly pleased with it, and I hope everybody likes them that gets them. The international shipping's a little annoying. I've kind of been spoiled by Drive-Thru RPG, by Lightning Source having both a printing here in the U.S. and here in the U.K. So overseas printing shipping can be you pay as much in shipping as you do in the cost of the cards. But I'm working on that. It's a slow process to try to enhance these things. But if you do know of a print-on-demand service overseas, feel free to get in contact with me and let me know. Also, for those of you who are diceless folks, or maybe an aspiring freelancer, Rite Publishing is doing an open call right now for our diceless line. It's our most popular line, our bestseller out of everything short of as a strict role-playing game supplement. We're doing a pitch, and you can find that about out at the Lords of Gossamer Shadow Kickstarter. If you look at the most recent update, it talks about it. But we're doing accepting open pitches for threats, our threats line, and just take a look there and read through it and talk about it. It pays a minimum of 1 cent a word. It's really going to depend on what your experience is. If you're a brand new guy who's never been published before, this is your opportunity. If you're a guy who's been published a lot more, you can reach out to me if you want to write for Lords of Gossamer Shadow. We're going to have another Kickstarter for it eventually. I'm considering either a massive variant rule book or a bestiary of some kind. It's probably going to be more of a bestiary at this point. I think that's really where Jason and I, in our last conversation, were kind of leading to. But I have a whole planning call that's coming up next Thursday, where I was on the 15th, where I'm sitting down and talking to everybody and trying to get an idea of where everybody is, how everybody's doing, where we're going to go with Lords of Gossamer Shadow in the future, and what our plans are long term, beyond just the little plans that I've made for line development, and trying to get things really hashed out to go the distance is kind of the best way I know to put it. It's a strategic overview and to get everybody on the same page, all hands on deck kind of a thing. So nothing major, just a lot of fun. And I like to treat my employees to a little, hey, you need to come over to my meeting, because everybody needs more meetings. So this is probably as long as I'm going to take this, because I don't want to get off on too many tangents. But again, I just wanted to talk about the icon deck, what it was useful for, where the art came from, why we made the decisions we did about art, why we made the decisions about labeling the artist's name. I give credit where credit's due, and just to have fun with and have a really interesting deck. So there's 52 cards. It's a pretty substantial layout of stuff. Pretty big. There's a lot of stuff there. You get a pretty big deal of. You got too much there. Just unwieldy. You get so many cards in your hand. This is all one deck. I'm really pleased with it. So, pretty substantial. I feel pretty good about it. That's good. I even got more cards. It's 52 cards. So, drop one. So, yeah. So we'll have a lot of fun with this. I think. I think people will be really pleased. Tell your friends about it. Again, it'll be out August 1st. I'm sorry, at Gencon. So it'll be out August 14th. The pre-order ends August 1st. And as soon as you order the pre-order, you get the self-printing PDF automatically, so you can print out multiple cards if you want, and so forth. So with the self-printing PDF and the set itself will run $14.99, $7.50, $7.49 for the PDF, and $14.99 for that. I think it's actually going to be like $13.99. It may be less than that. Yeah, I'm kind of running between that, because there's a thing on drive-thru that if you want a box for your cards, it costs $1 more. So you may see me price it down to $11.99 and see about getting it to $13.99 and see me automatically bundle it with a case. That was something that I didn't realize till afterwards. But we'll see how that goes. It's something I have to talk to with them and see if that's possible. I know people like having boxes for their cards, though I'm a guy who's like, I have so many Magic the Gathering boxes that I can put cards in. I really didn't think about it. So, and again, you can get tunnel vision because you know what you know, but that's not the case for everybody else, and that's a good example of it on something a lot more mundane. I want to thank everybody for joining us here today on Rite Designs. I'm, of course, your host, Stephen Russell, publisher for Rite Publishing, CEO, Grand Poobah, Lord Protector, whatever you want to call me. I'm the man. And again, folks, have a very good day, and thank you so much. Bye.